Naoto is a Vegian nerd loser who is terrible at everything and can't even look at girls in the eyes without shaking like a leaf like your best friend. However, his life suddenly changes when a short girl annoys him enough that he falls in love with her. This all started when he entered the library to do his usual loser activities. But there were women in the vicinity, and he hated them because they were loud and annoying. And most importantly, they made fun of him for being a clumsy idiot who couldn't even stay calm when they were 5 feet away from him. When he accidentally drops his drawings, and one of the girls picks them up and tells everyone that he's drawing manga. Upon reading his stills, Akari introduces herself and calls him senpai, but not before roasting him and his manga plot, because apparently he's trying to do a self-insert into his story, and he's not even close to being cool because he can't do what the character can in the story. So to prove that he's a coward, she asks him to recreate the scenes in the manga together. However, when it's finally time to be cool, he just can't because he's idiotically maxing. This leads to her cooking him so hard he actually starts crying, and she gives him her handkerchief before leaving. That night, he gets irritated again by the light-skinned demon Akari, which continues the next day, when she actually finds where he's hiding. Before entering the room, he returns her handkerchief and tells her he washed it, which makes her blush. She follows him inside and teases him that they're alone together, which means plot development. Looking around, she realizes that he's doing some art, so she offers to be his model and starts unbuttoning her shirt so he can draw better. He just explodes comically and tells her to be normal instead. When he actually starts drawing, he keeps looking at her, making absolutely nothing on the canvas. She catches on to this, so she promises to reward him if he can actually do something other than stare at her. And so he gets to work and starts drawing her, which takes him the entire day, but it's actually pretty good, and she is impressed. As promised, she gives him his reward, telling him to close his eyes as he's about to get it. She leans in closer, going for a kiss. But as soon as their lips are about to touch, she flicks his nose and laughs at him. She roasts him again, telling him he's too optimistic if he thinks he can actually get a kiss from just that. She calls him a twink for not drawing her thigh area, and roasting him again into crying. After that, she follows him around and asks him to go out with her, which of course is another joke, and he keeps falling for that. He tells her she's just toying with him for the fun of it, so she sends him barreling down a canal, which he doesn't find too offensive. He just gets out of it and tells her it's no big deal, despite his clothes being all ruined and soaked. So she asks him if he ever gets angry because she's aware she's basically worse than his enemies. Unfortunately, Naoto isn't the type of guy to get angry very often, and instead just lets his haters leave as soon as they're done with him. He tells her that despite her being annoying, he actually doesn't hate it. In fact, he's got a roast kink, and he likes it a lot, but he doesn't even know her name, so he asks her about it. Akari tells him to call her the N-word Nagatoro, writing it down on his chest. The next day, Naoto is finally alone in the art room, and he can't wait to read the spicy manga he bought from Wish. But his hand-to-hand session is interrupted when Akari appears once again to disturb the peace. So he immediately hides the manga behind his back. However, she has some kind of creep detector and knows he's up to something. Eventually catching on to his plan, she offers to do it together with her, lowering his guard. Before taking the manga for herself, she pats him for trying to get laid but tells him there's no way he's going to take the easy route with her. Once she opens the manga, she's immediately greeted with the large anime honkers, which according to her, is very relevant to the plot. So she shows it in one panel and compares it to him, roasting him for thinking that he can actually pull something like that. But in Naoto's defense, he just wants to read the story because it's a vampire story about true love. So she reads the manga and actually finds it very compelling, despite the jump scares. She even tells him one of the characters resembles him, which is that poor hero who gets sucked dry. But she tells him he'll do just fine because vampires don't actually feed on a Vegian's blood. He's had enough of her, so he asks her how she knows he's a Vegian, so she challenges him. She then looks at his neck and asks him if she can bite it like the vampire in the story. She tells him it's just like a prick, and it wouldn't be painful despite her canine teeth being built like a pit bull. She inches closer before lunging at him like a hunter from Left 4 Dead, telling him that he's her prey. He asked her what will happen if someone sees them, but she ignores it and starts playing with him, stroking his neck like a rod, before leaning in closer for a big bite. However, his breath smells like a dead rat, but it doesn't stop her from lunging at him and rubbing a good one. Later that day, she follows him on the way home and asks him if it's his first time getting handy. Naoto gets flustered and is beet red, especially since this is actually the first time a woman touches him on his other head. So she asks him if he wants another one, and she'll do it properly this time, edging him, because she goes for his belly instead of little bro. She laughs at him again for thinking he'll get another one before leaving him all edged up and hard. That night, while reading spicy manga, he imagines Akari giving him all that plot development, which actually gets him tweaking. The next day, she appears once again to annoy him. But this time around, they're going to be playing the melon guessing game. The rule is simple. He just needs to guess where the seeds are located, and the prize is pretty much self-explanatory. He tells her he's not into groping people randomly, and there's no merit to winning. But she tells him there it is, and it's a ticket to ask her to do anything. He can basically use the ticket as a red card to stop her from annoying or roasting him. But he can also use the ticket to do even crazier stuff, like getting her to wear her swimwear or strip down her clothes. He thinks really hard and tells himself he'll do it so we can stop her from roasting him. And so the game begins, and Akari opens up with a double bullseye, hitting the targets expertly, which is actually a miss. But before he can say anything, she just starts playing with it like a Roomba going in circles. He begs for her to stop and tells her he's giving up, but she tells him it's now his turn to do the thing. Determined to get his revenge, he closes the gap and starts locking in at his targets. As he's about to touch her like switches, she pushes him off of her and tells him time's up, ditching him for her friends. After taking a massive loss, he goes to a restaurant to continue working on his manga, but Akari and her friends, along with some guys, just entered the restaurant. Apparently, it's a double date, and he's trying to listen to what they're up to. The guys are basically waffling about things like bands and all that jazz, but Akari has no interest in that. The guy even offers her to listen to one of his dumpster fire songs. Meanwhile, our boy is just hiding in a corner, waiting for her to trash the guy and his garbage music, but for some reason she doesn't and just straight up tells him he should stop making music. Even the second guy gets humiliated so badly that he has to go back to the bathroom for the second time. On the way home, Naoto thinks about whether he's the only one getting roasted because the guys earlier were straight up destroyed mentally. But she appears behind him and starts walking with him, which ends up in more roasting. The next day, she appears in the art room again and asks him if he wants her to model for him, but he refuses, stating that he only wants to draw things instead of real people. So she opens up and shows him something he's never seen before, which is a school swimsuit. After their school, heavy rain starts pouring in, and both of them have to run to the nearest shed. Under it, they try to dry themselves, but the rain starts pouring harder, so she invites him to dry his clothes at her house. Upon seeing her parents' shoes, he thinks he's going to get roasted by his family, including the cat. But it turns out no one is home right now. She tells him to stay for a bit, offering her brother's clothes while she dries his, even giving him a towel to use. Instead of using the towel normally, he thinks to himself that it's the same towel that she used to dry every nook and cranny of her body. But she already knows he's going to stiffen it like a crack addict. After dressing herself, she made some tea for both of them, teasing him again that he's acting twice as sus since he got inside their house. She knows it's his first time being in a girl's room, so she asks him what's the most common thing that two people do inside a room, and he tells her it's studying, but she catches on to him because they don't even have exams coming up. She then puts her hand on top of his, telling him they're going to smash like crazy, like Smash the video game. She tells him that it's her brother's and that she's pretty elite at the game, but he just trashes her with his insane ego moment at 37, which genuinely annoys her. He thinks he's too hard on her, but after all the roasting, he's finally going to get his revenge. And so the next round, he just trashes her as usual. But as he's about to finish her, she blows his ears, and he immediately loses his focus and the game. The two play the game the entire time, and once the rain stops, he thanks her for the good time, and she tells him there won't be a next time. The next day, Naoto finds himself in trouble because most of the seats in the cafeteria are occupied, except for Akari and her friends. She invites him over, but this is literally a trap for him because these are the same girls who laughed at his drawings a couple of days ago. Since now the spots are open, he just takes it like a man, but she pretends they're in a relationship. So the girls ask him if he expanded her domain already, but he's got the heavenly restriction, aka he's a Vegian. So it's become obvious he isn't her boyfriend. She's so possessive of him that the girls think he got reverse colonized. Then he gets roasted again, with Maki telling him that he's less than a human. He's just a bug. But much to his surprise, Akari defends him because Maki is taking it too far with all the strays that he's catching. Even he stands up for himself and announces to the whole cafeteria that he's not her boyfriend, cutting off mid-sentence to finally eat his lunch, which makes girls laugh at him with his victim riz. Later that day, Akari asks him why he never fights back, telling him that he should slap someone whenever they disrespect him. So they recreate what he should be doing, but instead of slapping her, he just cries like a pathetic loser, which leads her to irritate him even further. Once he had enough, he actually slapped her hard, but on the wrong cheeks. A couple of days later, while enjoying his lunch, Maki and Yoshi appeared to disturb his peace. He thinks it's Akari, but it's the worst people he wants to see right now. They finally find their hideout, and they start annoying him again, getting smugly stared at while eating. And then suddenly they have the brightest idea to talk about melons and what makes them great, asking him if he has actually touched one before. Apparently, some rumors are spreading that he's a Vegian and a close-minded cultured man, so to cure this disease he has, Maki asks him if he wants to feel her hysterical pillows, hypnotizing him like he's Alex Mason. Before things go south, he immediately heads for the doorway, but Yoshi grabs him and forces him to touch Maki's buns. But in reality, it's actually a red bean bun and not the real thing, which is a total disappointment. They laugh at him again, but Akari finally appears looking angry and ready to throw hands. So the duo retreats, and she congratulates him menacingly for losing his hand's virginity. But when he tells her it's not really the real thing but the bread, she has the brightest idea of doing the same thing. She offers him that she'll let him squeeze her black bean buns, rewarding him with a premium bean bun if he correctly guesses which buns are softer. After tucking the two breads inside her shirt, she asks him to feel them and check which one has the softer texture. He's hesitant to actually do it, but she tells him he's a coward if he can't do it. So he slowly touches the right one, closes his eyes, and does some quick massage. While he's doing it, the premium bun slips out of her shirt. So when he actually goes for the left one, he's feeling the actual thing. He doesn't even hold back and feels around the entire thing with both hands, just to make sure it's the premium bun. Once he opens his eyes, he immediately tells her which is the premium bun. But he quickly realizes that he's basically groping her actual thing and experiencing heaven. So Akari gets embarrassed and beats him up with the premium bread. 2 days later, things go back to normal, and she volunteers to be his model, bringing the used sofa into the art room to be her personal bed. She mentions how he looks a little bit sad when she enters the room and notices that he is looking at the baseball captain, who is celebrated by his team and some of their schoolmates. He opens up about how he's not really good at anything, except drawing stuff, so being praised certainly helps boost his confidence. But she tells him that to receive praise means to acknowledge and praise someone else first, so she asks him to praise her and give compliments. Anything will do. But when he thinks about it, anything he says can be labeled as creepy, so he praises her hair instead. She laughs at his goofiness, but asks for more praise. So he tells her she's quite agile, and what he did the first time they met was pretty cool. In return, she praises him, but not before judging him to see if there's actually anything worth mentioning about him. After that, they start their modeling sequence, and she tries multiple poses, which are all quite provocative and too much for his pickle to handle. In the end, they settle for the normal-looking one, but he can draw properly without being hard at work. So she tells him she'll be taking a nap instead while he's working on his drawing skills. When she's finally asleep, he finally gets the good position to draw her, which turns out to be a pretty good sketch. When she wakes up, she takes a look at the drawing and gives him a reward, which is a Frenchie with a toy. After a week of hanging out and getting annoyed, things are getting a little bit better, because Akari is starting to get more touchy. When she challenges him to a tickle fight, Naoto accepts but backs out when she reveals her school swimsuit uniform. She urges him to tickle her Cadbury armpits if he's a real man, but she also backs out when he's so close to that galaxy chocolate spot. Later that day, she shows a reel about a sheep getting sheared and realizes that his hair looks like it can do a little shearing. He tells her he'll go to the barber shop, but she can no longer wait and brings out her brother's shaver. He squirms and says he doesn't get his hair cut so short, but the barber needs a shaver, so she settles for hair-cutting scissors and a comb. At first, he's hesitant and tells her it's a lot of work, but after some delusional thoughts, he gives in and tells her to cut his hair. However, Maki calls her and tells her to send her notes to their classroom, which is a plot to get her out of the room, so they can cut Naoto's hair instead. A few seconds later, Maki and Yoshi enter the room, looking around before finding the shaver. They ask him what's up with it, so he tells them Akari planned for his hair, which gives them the idea of giving him the best haircut. For the second time, the duo corners him again, opting to give him the bald haircut, which activates his defense mechanism. Just as they're about to finish his hair off, Akari arrives to rescue him, and the duo, as usual, run away again. After some time, she finishes her haircut, and it turns out really great for Naoto. For once, he does not look like a breedable twink from a Target cash registry. 2 days later, summer officially starts, and everyone's getting annoyed by the sun. On the way to school, Akari asks Naoto to buy shaved ice with her, but when they arrive, they see that the line is longer than the lines on the iPhone 15 launch day. However, she's really craving some shaved ice, and no amount of human lines can deter her from getting that delicious summer treat. The problem is the line doesn't even budge, even after queuing for 4 hours. She's running low on power and is about to collapse from heat stroke, so our boy drags her somewhere she doesn't absorb all the heat. After giving her some water to drink, she heals back to 100%, and she's ready to line up again. But she tells him to wait for a bit because she's going to cook something. After a few minutes, she arrives with a pure lemon ice cream, enjoying the best flavors Japan can offer. Later that day, she tells him that summer break starts tomorrow, and she's basically going to be preoccupied with helping her club, so she asks for his contact info. After getting his number, she tells him she's going to cyber annoy him. so better be prepared. A month has passed by in the blink of an eye, and Naoto finds himself inside the Genshin Impact loading screen. This fit lady tells him he's the savior of the world, so he has to do some world saving, plunging him straight into the map without a glider. As soon as he drops, a monster attacks him, and his magical powers are completely useless until the cat girl Akari shows up as Nagatoro, sending the beast straight to Poseidon's lunchbox, and so their adventure starts and they beat up a lot of monsters, eventually finding the Demon Lord's lair, which is his original quest. It turns out she and the girls he saved are all Demon Lords in disguise, and are just waiting for him to deliver them straight into their castle. Just as he's about to get roasted again, he wakes up and finds the real demons waiting for him to wake up. The next day, Akari invites him to join them at the beach, as it's going to be the last day of their summer vacation. He initially refuses, but goes on anyway because he knows how much of a loser he is, so he plans to actually have some fun. On the way to the beach, he gets annoyed by the trio, dissing him for being a loser sea lion. Once they arrive, Maki removes her t-shirt, revealing her bountiful peaks, and catches that he's looking at her. Yoshi proceeds to scare him with her freshest melons, which forces him to leave the area. When he brings the drinks, the girls prepare to have the most fun of their lives, while he sits underneath their summer umbrella, trying to finish his drawings before the summer actually comes to an end. After some time, he notices how lonely he is, so she walks up to him and tells him to put on some creamy white liquid all over his body so he can resist the sun. However, when she's about to give him some sunscreen, he stops her and tells her that she can only be gentle with him if they're dating. Hearing this ridiculous thing, she just stomps him and gives him a foot attack, and then the girls join in the fun, giving him a triple foot attack, leaving him full of sunscreen enough to replace the ozone layer. Throughout the day, the group spends their last day of summer vacation quite well, and even Naoto admits that it's really fun. With the summer vacation coming to an end, it's finally time for a summer festival to end, and everyone is dressed up for summer fireworks later tonight. In his mind, Naoto wants to be with Akari, all dressed up with her summer yukata, but he ends up just spending his time playing a Tekken game. But he can't keep still because he is really waiting for her text to invite him, just like the last time at the beach, though he contemplates whether he should be inviting her to come with him because that sounds really creepy even to him. So after 2 hours, he just comes in solo, but Yoshi and Maki find him again, kidnapping him and making fun of him for thinking they'll actually run into Akari. Apparently, she's busy helping her club, so she can't really join the festival. Upon hearing this, he quickly tries to leave, but the girl collars him so he can't leave, and then they send the pic to Akari, making sure to lure her into the festival. A few minutes later, she arrives and tries to take the leash off of Maki, but she tells her that she'll have to fight for Naoto's ownership. With the rules established, the two groups start fighting over the minigame stalls around them. 2 hours pass in the blink of an eye, and they compare the prizes they'd won, with Akari taking Naoto's ownership deed through bribery. With the games done, Yoshi and Maki go off to do their own things, leaving the two alone. After some time, they look around buying food here and there, and she teases our boy that it's like a date. Fireworks soon illuminate the sky, and Akari pushes him to the designated viewing spot. However, just like the shaved ice cream line, even watching fireworks is a drag. Naoto tells her they'll take a shortcut, but the line suddenly moves and she's dragged along with it. So he has no choice but to pull her out and drag her to the best viewing spot in their city. She then ruins the moment by making fun of him once again, but this time he's got the clap back, forcing her to tell every detail of what she thinks is going to happen if they're alone in a dark place. And then suddenly a big firework reveals couples around them doing the exact thing that she's about to do, so they immediately retreat to civilization. On the way home, he tells her to come with him next year, and surprisingly she agrees, telling him that he'll have to wear matching yukatas with her. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get more videos like this.